In today's video, I'll be going over the Pioneer, which is the first steel ship to enter the World of Warships thing starting in 2026. Now, the Pioneer is going to be the first ship in this game to get radar and submarine surveillance, which is going to be very strong against submarines. It also gets very strong ASW, so any submarine that gets anywhere near close to this thing is going to be in a world of hurt. Now, to get this ship, it's going to cost you 31,000 steel, and it's going to be able to get on February 17th, which is for NA, EU, and Asia. Now, in today's video, I'll be going over on how good or bad I think the ship is, as well as going over the build and my overall thoughts and opinions on if this ship is going to be worth it. So let's get started. To start off, let's give a little bit of a description of the Pioneer. The Pioneer is a HE smoke farmer from the Commonwealth tree, where it's able to use that crawling smoke, its 16 150 millimeter guns to put a lot of damage down the field. And it does have okayish AP as well, but your main focus is going to be HE out of those 152 millimeter guns. Now, if something does show broadside, say about 8 kilometers in, then yeah, sure, or 9 kilometers, you can use AP, but a lot of the time, you're just going to be spamming HE. And also with this crawling smoke, as you can see, it has 3 turrets at the front with 1 in the rear. And the rear turret is also 360, which means that you're able to keep yourself bow in or at an angle to be able to use all of your guns. And it allows you to be very maneuverable in the smoke, which allows you to dodge torpedoes or dodge incoming salvos if you have to. This thing also gets the British acceleration, which is really useful. It allows you to throttle shoot battleship salvos or help you be able to dodge incoming torpedoes really easily. And with a smoke farmer, you also have to worry about that concealment. And this thing does have really strong concealment. It has a 9.9 kilometer concealment when you build into it, as well as when it's in smoke, it has a 6.2 kilometer concealment when it's shooting its guns, which is really good for a tier 10 cruiser of this size and of how many guns it has, which means that anything that gets even near you will be really in pain, really suffering. And also, since it does have all these tools at disposal, it has even more. It has a 12 kilometer radar, as well as the 8 kilometer submarine surveillance. And this means that if you're being spotted while shooting in your smoke, that means you can pop your radar, and if it doesn't spot anything, then you can use your submarine surveillance and spot the submarine that's spotting you. So no matter what, this is the first ship in the game that has it where if you're being spotted by a submarine, you're going to be able to spot it back no matter what. So say it's on the surface, you can use its radar, make it go underwater, and then you can use that submarine surveillance to hit it. And this thing does have a lot of aerial depth charges, and it also has a nice reload as well. You get 3 strikes per the ASW, and they also have a 30-second reload. So you're able to go hit them back to back. And they have 11 kilometer range, which is some of the best out of the tier 10 cruisers. Another thing to note about the radar and submarine surveillance, even though they are such a great pair, it does come at a drawback. So both submarine surveillance and the surveillance radar both have a 237-second preparation time. So it takes about 4 minutes to get both of them to be able to use them. So during the first 4 minutes of the match, you're not going to be able to use your radar or your submarine surveillance. So you have to make note of that when you are preparing to move in the early game. So maybe in the first few minutes of the match, you're not going to be as aggro to help support your destroyer. Maybe get in position to where you can. And then whenever you get both your radar and submarine surveillance, then you're able to be a little bit more aggressive to help supporting your destroyer and then your submarine or anything that's there. This thing is definitely meant to be more of a submarine hunter or destroyer pusher out of cap. It does a really good job with that, and it's really good at supporting your destroyers. It does really good job with that. Another thing to know is it does also get torpedo tubes as well. Now, these torpedo tubes aren't the best. You do get a lot of torpedoes, 8 per side, but they're only 6 kilometer range. The damage on them is pretty nice with 16,700. They're definitely meant more as a defense. So say something's pushing you, or you're having to rush something, which I wouldn't really recommend with the armor. It does have a nice HP of 54,000, but the armor overall is very light. The battle armor is 25 millimeters. The aft is also 25 millimeters, with the Citadel section being about 120. And the Citadel is slightly above water, and it goes all the way from the front gun all the way to the back gun. So a really big Citadel. So you need to be careful of that. So I wouldn't recommend just doing these drive-bys normally, but in the worst case scenario where you have to, at least you have torpedoes that can just push out a lot of damage. And with that maneuverability, it allows you to do pretty well and use those torpedo angles to your advantage. Now, even though it does have a nice turning radius, it has that really fast acceleration, it's not the fastest cruiser. It has a 35.7 knot speed when you have the speed flag, which isn't the slowest, it's not the fastest, but it's definitely not meant to be running and gunning all the time. It's meant to use that smoke to farm in while you're using it. And then if you're not having the smoke, you can do a little bit of shooting, and then you're using that smoke again to just go dark and just farm while you're in there. So this ship is mainly a smoke farming cruiser, where you have that radar and submarine surveillance to be able to help push with your destroyer to help support it, and then to farm out any other battleships or cruisers that are causing any kind of issues to your team. Now, with all these great features, it does have some drawbacks. One of them is going to be the armor. It is very squishy. Two is going to be the gun range. The gun range is 14.5 kilometers, which is not long at all. But with how this ship is played, it doesn't really matter with that range. With how it's meant to be played, it does really kind of fit that range role. If you try building into longer, the shell speed is going to be a lot slower, and I don't really think it's worth building into range. But if you feel like the range is a little bit too short and you need to build into it, then yeah, sure you can. But overall, I think the 14.5 kilometer range is perfectly fine with how the ship's meant to be played, and it's a lot of fun to play it that way. How this ship plays kind of feels like a closer range Cerberus. The Cerberus isn't as versatile to where it's able to move in to be able to help support its destroyers. It has to stay a little bit further back due to it not having as many tools as the Pioneer. But the Pioneer feels like it could be a little bit more like closer to the engagement to be able to give better support to its submarines or destroyers to be able to help keep the enemy destroyers or submarines back, as well as farming out other cruisers or battleships as well. It does a really good job of all of that, a little bit more versatile gameplay than compared to the Cerberus. Now, with all these features and all these gimmicks, there are some major drawbacks. It having 3 gun turrets at the front makes it where if you're trying to engage somebody, you kind of need to be more pointed into the target. If you are kiting, trying to use all of your guns when you're kiting, it's going to be very painful because the gun angles on this thing are really bad when you're kiting away. So you got to be careful of that when you do. If you're trying to farm up on water, you're going to be taking a lot of damage with how much side you have to use, with how bad the turret angles are on those front 3 turrets when you're kiting. The ship is definitely meant to be played more bow wind, or if you want to use all 4 turrets and you have to show that really big broadside. The nice thing is the rear turret is 360, which allows you to rotate your side back and forth pretty easily. And a lot of times you don't even have to show your side to be able to shoot the rear turret. You can just use your front 3 turrets only, and the DPM is perfectly fine, which allows you to hit more of your targets so that you're able to do more damage. One final thing to note about the stats is this ship's anti-air. The anti-air, it's pretty average. You only get 4 flat clouds, and the continuous damage isn't that high, so don't really expect too much from the anti-air. So if you're being bullied by a CV, learn to just dodge and you'll be fine. So my overall opinion of the Pioneer is that I think it's a lot of fun to play. I think that it has a very unique play style, very versatile in your positioning on what you're able to do. You can be more of a destroyer submarine hunter. You can do a little bit more cruiser and battleship farming with the HE. AP is good on broadside targets within about 9 or 8 kilometers, and it having such a good smoke detection when it's firing its guns of 6.2 kilometers, that is so strong in this thing that if something is pushing you to where it's able to do that, you can just keep using your crawling smoke and just show enough side to launch your torps when you have to, and you'll just obliterate anything that's going to be coming at you, because it having 8 torpedoes per side that do about 17,000 damage, it just hurts. And anything that pushes you is going to die. So either one of them is going to die or you both die in the process. So no matter what, you're going to be doing massive damage in this thing, no matter what. So to me, this thing is definitely, but I think it's way better than the Cerberus. So if you like playing the Cerberus, then I think this is definitely worth the 31,000 steel. And of course, you can use the coupon as well, the coal and steel coupon that goes on. You can use that to help you be able to get this thing. So I definitely think it's worth getting. Now, this thing also does really well with the legendary commander, which I'll be showcasing the build in a little bit. But on this, for the unique commander, John Collins, it makes it where when you do 60,000 damage, you get 2% speed boost to your ship and a 5% extra time to your consumables. Now, this stacks up to 3 times, so you can get a maximum of 6% speed to your ship and 15% to your consumables, which it doesn't sound like too much, but when you factor in that how long this crawling smoke is, which when you build into it already, it's about 2 minutes. You got another 15%. That's almost like another 20 seconds of farming you get off of that. And as well as this ship goes 35.7 knots, you can increase it by 6%. That's about like 38, 39 knots, which is really a really nice speed for how this ship is meant to be played, especially with how fast it can accelerate. I would definitely recommend you stay around like half speed or a 4th speed, to where you can easily just full throttle it and just turn to dodge incoming shells. Now, the other unique skill that this ship, the commander has with John Collins, is the rise and fight again. This makes it where it activates once per battle, and if your ship falls below 10% health, you get 2% health per second for 5 seconds. So you get 10% back health if you fall below 10%. So I think this commander is really good with this ship. And I'll be showing the build in a moment after I'm done talking about the ship. But overall, I think the Pioneer is a lot of fun to play. I think it's definitely worth it. And from the gameplay of me playing it, it's not that hard to get into. It's pretty simple to get into. I don't think it's that difficult. The gameplay is it can be complicated if you're trying to do more like a versatile role of being more aggro in and supporting your destroyers and submarines. But if you're being more of just a farmer, it's a pretty simple, just shoot while you're in smoke. Just switch targets, so where you shoot one target with HE, it gets set on fire. Then you see another target, you set that one on fire. So when damage controls party, then you just go back to that one and make it have a perma fire, and then you just keep repeating the process over and over again. I could easily do 140, 150,000 damage in this thing on the regular, and that was me being more of a pusher outer of the destroyers and subs and just helping my destroyers and submarines out. If I focus more on just farming, I could easily do above 200k in this thing, and this thing's going to be such a monster farmer. If you enjoyed the Cerberus, then you're definitely going to enjoy this ship. It's a very unique and fun playstyle, and I think it's one of the best additions for steel we've seen in a very long time, just for straight up steel. So I'd highly recommend this ship. All right, so let's take a look at this ship in port as well as the build that I recommend. So this is the armor of the ship here: 25mm bow, 25mm aft, as you can see here. Deck armor is going to be 51mm in the middle, 30 on the little rear section here, and 30 here, as well as this 120mm here. For the Citadel, as I was saying earlier, it does have a slightly above water Citadel that goes all the way from the back gun all the way to the front gun. So very big Citadel. You're just don't get shot at and you'll be fine. But yeah, 25mm is nice to help you against those heavier gun cruisers, but against battleships, yeah, that's going to hurt. You do have a 1% torpedo protection though, which is, kind of a meme, but yeah, there is that. But yeah, this is how the ship looks in port. It does have the 3 turrets at the front, as you can see there, as well as the one in the rear. And again, this turret right here is 360, which is really nice. I do like that. It means when you're bow wind, you can easily angle yourself from side to side if you want to use that gun. But a lot of the time, you don't have to with how much DPM you have off of those guns already. So let's take a look at the build of this ship. What do I recommend? So for the first slot, I'm going to recommend main armaments modification. This makes it where your main guns are less likely to get knocked out and give them extra survivability, so very useful. The next one is going to be radar duration. So your radar duration goes up to 26.4 seconds, which is really nice to help it to be able to do extra salvos on the targets. So since this reload is about 7 seconds, if you add in that little extra radar, it gives you a little bit extra time to be able to shoot and gives you like an extra salvo to be able to shoot the target you're radaring. Next one is going to be aiming systems to make your guns more accurate. Steering gears, since you can't do propulsion, since it does get the British acceleration for the cruisers, so you get best option steering gears. Next is going to be concealment to get the concealment down to the 9.9. And then reload is going to be the final one for the modules. If you want to build into range, you can, but I don't recommend the range. I think the reload's perfectly good with it. But if you feel like you need more range, then of course you can build into it. All right, so let's go over the ship's build that I recommend. Now, I do recommend using John Collins for his one. He has the enhanced skill here for the adrenaline rush, as well as having the 2 unique skills here that I talked about earlier. Now, the first one is going to be rise and fight again. So if you're during once per battle, if your ship falls below 10%, you essentially get 10% back on your health. So if you ship HP per second is 2% and it's active for 5 seconds. So you get 10% back over 5 seconds. I think this is really important, and it puts it on the level of Kuznetsov, that commander, just puts him on that level of just being god tier. The other skill is going to be the Tria, Jukta, and Yuno, which makes it where it activates each time you deal 60,000 damage to enemy ships, and up to 3 times per battle. So it makes it where your ship speed goes up by 2% and ship consumable action time by 5%. And this stacks 3 times, so you can get a maximum of 6% to your ship speed and 15% to your ship consumable action time. This makes it where you get a longer action time for your smoke, your radar. Everything gets longer lasting action time, which is really useful. So you get a better heal, better DCP, better smoke, better radar, and better submarine surveillance. So overall, just a massive buff to this ship by using this commander. So I highly recommend it. Now, I'll be going over the ship's build that I do for the commander. I'll be going over step by step on it, and I'll try my best to explain it. So if anyone had any questions, you can leave in the comments. If you like the build or not, just let me know. So the first one is going to be the consumable specialist. This makes it where you get your smoke back, your submarine surveillance, and your radar back faster, as well as preparation time. Because as you can see here, the submarine surveillance is 213 seconds for prepping, as well as for the radar, it's 237 seconds. So this skill allows you to get these back faster at the start of the game to where you're able to use them. So it is useful for that, as well as getting them back faster on cooldown. And the same with the crawling smoke. It keeps the cooldown under 2 minutes, which is really useful to allow you to be able to do more smokes, which means more farming. Your 3-point in total is going to be the consumable enhancement. This gets your exhaust smoke to be over 2 minutes, as well as having your radar be about 26 seconds. So very useful here. Your 6-point build is then going to be superintendent. This gives you an extra heal, an extra smoke, an extra radar, and extra submarine surveillance. So very important to get this one. After that, concealment to keep your concealment down to 9.9. Very important. Now, for your next commander point is going to be the 14 one. It's either going to be top grade or outnumbered. This is going to be depending upon more on your play style. I personally want top grade gunner to get better DPM. But if you want outnumbered for that better dispersion on your guns and extra ship speed, you can. It's kind of more of a personal preference. I like top grade gunner since I'm going to be more inside of my concealment, trying to help out my destroyers and submarines. So if someone's spotted inside of it, which is going to happen a lot since I have that radar, yeah, I'm going to get that just extra raw DPM. But the outnumbered is also a good pick as well. So if you want any of those, you can do that. So you can do top grade or outnumbered. And if you just want to also just get both of these, you could just not get either survivability expert and the grease the gears to make it where you get one of these as well. If you just want just extra DPM and accuracy, then you can do that as well. All those options are great. It just depends upon what you want. All right, so that's your 14-point build. After that, it's going to be Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush is going to be really important to where essentially when you lose an HP, if you lose, you get 0.25% faster reload for your weapons or extra damage on your continuous anti-air. This is very important where if you're forced out in the open, that you're able to get that DPM down to be able to reload faster. Very important. So this is going to be your 17-point commander. After that, it's going to be survivability expert, which is going to be your 20-point commander to get extra HP. That makes your HP go to about 54,000. And then the final one is going to be grease the gears to get your turret diverse back up. Because the turret diverse, it's 30 seconds. It's not the worst. It's not the best. But yeah, you'll definitely feel it when you try turning your guns when you're turning the ship full speed. You're not going to be able to keep your guns keeping up with that turn. So yeah, it's going to be kind of painful if you don't have grease the gears. So do be careful of that. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me guys all know what you guys think of the Pioneer. Do you think the ship is worth 31,000 steel? Do you think it is? Do you think it's not? And let me know. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Deuces!